Okay, so this is phase two. Now, got done with the Avengers 1. Now we're headed into the movies that, we're following the Avengers, and we have a lot of different varying films to go through. Starting off first, we have Iron Man 3. I think this is the kind of movie that, at least in my opinion, has aged remarkably well. Coming off of the Avengers 1, we were so like inundated with, oh, what are the Easter eggs? How is this one going to connect to this one? How is it going to tie in? And because Iron Man 3 didn't connect with really anything, a lot of us felt sorely disappointed. Looking back on it, that's one of the most refreshing things about this one. I also really like the direction. The guy who directed this did Lethal Weapon, The Nice Guys. I love that whole mystery aspect of it. Tony Stark out of the suit. He really is Iron Man without the armor. And the Mandarin twist. A lot of people hated it. I really like it. Now, I think that the issue is I think Guy Pearce was miscast, and I don't like who that whole business guy
Yeah.
character in general. But the idea to have this big villain who, to be honest, no one really likes anymore, to have him just be kind of like a puppet of a larger threat is really interesting. So, yeah, that's how I feel about it. Mo, how do you feel about Iron Man 3?
I I mean I kind of agree. Definitely like it a lot. Like I liked him like doing like basically being Iron Man outside of being in the suit, like him just putting stuff together, like just being a handyman. Also, like we talked about this, like that kid. Does he know who he is or doesn't he?
Well, by the end he does, but that scene where the
Yeah,
two of them meet
That
is
when they
very
meet,
confusing
yeah,
like
because
does
he
he
walks
know?
in and he's like, "What's your name?" Like, "I'm Harley, and your name is." And he says, "I'm the mechanic." Technically, he goes, "Well, technically, you're dead." And he pulls out a picture of a newspaper. It says Iron Man dead. So it's like, why'd you ask who he was? And then it's weird scene, but I like.
yeah.
Hey, in terms of kid actors, that's
It's all
one of the
accurate.
best. One of the
Solid.
Solid,
best.
Yeah, I liked
solid.
all that stuff. I again like I definitely liked it a lot. I liked him dealing with the stuff from Avengers 1. That this is like kind of the stuff I like about the MCU where you like each you see like cause and effect of different
Hmm.
like circumstances. And so I don't know. This one's hard. Hold on. I actually have a list. Let me double check on it.
As he's looking through, Ethan, where do you stand on Iron Man 3?
Um, so I put this in A. I really, really like this movie. I was one of those people who really didn't like the Mandarin twist when it first came out, but as it's grown on me, it's kind of like who cares? Like it works good. It works good.
Definitely works for the
Um,
movie.
yeah, I thought it was a really good ending to the Iron Man trilogy. I thought it was the best they could have done. Like you guys said, the shit with him without the suit, that's all amazing stuff. Uh, I put it in A.
Wow, he is coming
Yeah,
strong. Now, my only
yeah,
complaint is, look, the moment we get the helicopter Malibu attack sequence, which is one of the best action scenes the MCU has ever done, everything from that point on is A material.
hmm,
That being said, the first act, those first 30 minutes are
yeah,
really weak. That
yeah,
is really weak. I think none of the jokes land. Pepper is
yeah.
openly flirting with Aldrich Killian. She gets angry and storms off when the love of her life has a nightmare and is clearly having PTSD.
I want to point out
Yeah.
I will defend this a little bit. You're led to believe because he's gone through what mark is he on? I think he's on like 40 something. He just does this every night. He doesn't go to bed. And he's probably been dealing with this for like since like
Doesn't convey that in the
I'm
scene.
just saying.
He says,
saying.
"I'm sorry, I have to tinker with it," and she literally says, and I quote, "I'm going downstairs, tinker with that." I think she is pretty irredeemable. He
Yeah.
threatens a terrorist,
All right, well,
and
I don't like that.
the structure of the
Yeah.
scene is
Yeah.
horrendous. He threatens a terrorist, which, by the way, don't people know where he lives? There was a
Everyone
huge
should
party
already
at
know.
Iron Man 2, but for some reason, people forgot his address.
Right.
He announces his address. He goes home to see Pepper packing up, and he says, "Nope, the man says no."
He
Like,
does say
why
the
are you
man.
staying here?
He does say
Because
that.
Jarvis has the defenses up, but Jarvis doesn't have the defenses up because then the Malibu beach house is hit by the slowest moving missile I've ever seen in a film. Like Rebecca Ferguson looks at the or not Rebecca, whatever her name is. The Rebecca's a lot of Rebeccas. She looks at a news screen and goes, "Should we be worried about that?" As the missile is slowly moving its way into that. That first act is pretty god awful. So I'm gonna go with B. Everything from that scene on is A, but that opening is
Fair
really,
enough.
really weak.
I have
Yeah, I
it
would
at
go
B.
A or B on it.
I have it on B.
I,
I have
B's
it on
fine
B.
for me.
at the same level as Iron Man. Like I like
Yeah,
them
that's.
both
I was gonna say. I think it's just as good as the first Iron Man.
for
It's
different
not a little
reasons.
bit better, but
for different reasons.
For
yeah.
different reasons. Yeah.
I like it a little bit more. But I would agree. It's
That second
same
act
level.
on is fantastic. I think this is
Yeah.
one of the, this is easily the most underrated MCU movie.
Yeah, I
I'll go
agree.
with that.
I agree.
Look at that.
I think the stuff with Iron Man without his suit is like
It's
top tier
fantastic. I love
MCU
it.
content.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the Dark World.
Oh boy. Okay.
Oh boy.
You got this now?
I'll start on this. Because actually, there's one redeeming quality, and I'll say the good things first, because I like
The
Yeah,
good
get that out
thing.
Get that out of the way.
I'll get it out the way. I think the last fight looks really cool with the portals, because they're like going and Mjolnir is like following through like all the different places. So like it's like taking a while for Mjolnir to like get there. That stuff was cool. And
Okay.
the mom,
yeah.
the mom was good. I like the mom a lot. I feel like the mom's better than the dad ever was, because she actually like, I don't know, she died, and then like she was like in the movie. That's why like in the later movie when you actually get to see her again. So I definitely like the mom.
I'd
I
argue
like.
the scene in Endgame with the mom is better than any scene with her here. But
I
go
agree,
on-
but
go
I'm
on.
saying
I
like,
agree.
you
I agree.
needed more of her. I'm saying in the grand scheme of
It
things.
feels like you're reaching for things to compliment this movie on.
And
honestly.
Loki's fine. Loki's I didn't like, and I like Loki being mad then that the mom died, but he actually led to the mom dying. So there's something there.
Okay, that's a good
So
scene.
where would you rank it? Where would you put it?
I'm giving it an F. I just wanted to.
You listed all good things
I-
about it, and then
I think the villain's horrendous. I hate, like you said, the group. The group is just even worse now, because now Stellan Skarsgård's character is like naked, running around or whatever, and
Oh
then
my
like,
god, I
and
forgot
then
about that.
I hate,
Yeah.
and then like the assistant Darcy has an assistant. Like dude, it's horrendous. Like, and
it's like
like it's like characters. Like I literally hate what I'm looking at most of the time. I'm looking at it, and the villain sucks. You don't even know what you don't even speak English, so you can't even understand what he's like. Yeah, like you know what I'm saying. Like you have no idea. Like, and he's just speaking nonsense, not in different
Yeah.
language. He's speaking gibberish. It's not like
Yeah.
you know, like so you can't even get into the character at all.
What was his plan?
He spread darkness and dark. Also a big crime of this movie, the reality gem. That's like a huge thing, and you see it later on, like what's it capable of, the reality Infinity Stone. And you in this movie, it's just a sludge.
It's
That's like they make
black
fun of it.
smoke.
They make fun of it in any, but like that was like the whole thing. Like you can alter reality with it, and you never got to. That movie had nothing to do with that. That was like the whole thing. That was like the whole. That was the MacGuffin of the movie. So I don't know.
Ethan,
Yeah. I mean, I think the one redeeming thing, if you even want to say that, is that the CGI looks good sometimes.
It does look
That's
good.
the only redeeming thing I have from this movie.
Does look
I
good.
really don't like this movie. I think it's bottom 3 MCU movies.
this has become the movie that when people discuss the worst of the MCU, this routinely gets brought up
Yeah.
as
And it
the
sucks because
absolute
there's
worst.
a lot of good actors in this movie that just get done really badly. Like I think
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins is like not that great in this movie at all.
I
What does he
forgot he
even
was
do?
in this.
What does he do in the movie?
What does he do?
Yells at people and like like that's it. He just like screams at people for the whole movie. Go back and watch that movie. Like he just is yelling at Thor.
I really don't want to.
Yeah,
I
no,
real-
okay, yeah.
I rewatched all of them, and that's the one I like. I just couldn't do it. I looked up the Wikipedia again.
Yeah, I never want to watch this movie again.
It sucks
have to
because
put it in there.
This is part of the Infinity Saga that has a gem, so it's the
That
kind
has
of
a
one
gem,
you
yeah.
so you
It's
kind
like
of
a
have
crucial
to.
movie you have to
But
watch.
it
That's the
doesn't
worst part
do-
about it.
That was like my big thing. It's like they doesn't do the main thing. That's the like you can say it's whatever, like as a movie, but that's the main thing that's setting up in the future. This is the reality gem. So
I
you gotta
said
set up
Natalie,
the properties of the reality stone. That's like, but you don't get to see the reality stone. It's just sludge. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
as I said with Thor 1, Natalie Portman is, and to this day, it remains the worst love interest, which means Taika
Yeah,
Waititi has a lot of
easily.
stuff to
Yeah.
work with. He has a long bridge to climb. I don't like. It's like, all right, we wanted more of the Asgard stuff, and they gave us that. And you're
Mhm.
right, some of the effects again still look good,
Yeah.
but it's just in service of a storyline I don't care about. She has the sludge
Yeah.
in her, and it cuts back to Earth where Stellan Skarsgård's running around nude at Stonehenge. Darcy has a boyfriend. This is one of my Fs. I'm going F. Are there
Yeah.
anyone who speak now or forever hold your peace? Is there anything?
No.
Yeah. Anything
No.
else
Definite
that's
F.
trash
Easy
you
F.
want to bring up? I mean, I feel like I'm definitely
I
missing.
don't
Oh,
remember.
I will say this.
So
I
that's the
remember,
most forgettable MCU movie ever, probably.
this is a very
Like,
specific thing, but I remember I remember there was like an IGN article or something. It was like an article I read, and it was like they pointed out something about, oh, spoiler alert, this like because they showed this in some con or whatever, and it was like Thor's hand being cut off, and that was like that was like a phase of phase two. Like a lot of people's hands get cut off. That's I was like, oh, is he gonna get like a hook or something? That was like all illusion with
Didn't commit.
Loki. Yeah,
Didn't commit.
I
yeah,
was like,
that just went nowhere.
I was like, that's stupid. Like, what was
Yeah.
that? Like, I read it. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, I was like,
I don't know. I really didn't like Thor 1 when it came out, so my expectations were already low, and they just didn't even meet them.
That's
so
what
Yeah,
like.
it's worse than Thor 1, and I really don't like Thor 1.
I know you don't like Thor 1, and it's all kind of, when you look back on it, this wasn't even a movie that we hated when it was in the theater. I remember thinking it was fine. It was all right.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
solid.
and then I immediately forgot about it as soon as I left the
Yeah.
theater. The villain,
Yeah.
I will make an argument that I think there's a worse movie than this. We'll get to that movie in a little bit. I think this has the worst MCU villain, bar none. And
yeah,
Yeah. Easily.
Malekith.
Yeah.
Malekith, yeah. As no one's gonna argue, Thor: The Dark
Yeah.
World, our
No.
first F,
Easy F.
gentlemen.
I think.
Yeah.
All right, you know what? We are literally gonna change gears so rapidly. Captain America: The Winter Soldier. This was the one that
Crazy.
crazy.
Absolutely crazy.
Big change of pace here.
Ethan, start us off. Captain America: Winter Soldier.
Oh man. I'll just get it out the way. I think this is an F. I think this is top
An F?
4 or 5. Yeah. Horrible movie. I hate it. No, I think this is top 5 MCU movies for sure. I love the whole spy and thriller aspect of it. I like the whole emotional stuff with Bucky. There was a couple like very nitpicky problems I had with it that seemed like a little ridiculous. Like the whole Nick Fury like cutting a hole through the ground to get away from the Winter Soldier. Y'all know that?
Yeah.
What in the world? Like, in what
Where
sense
did he
does that make?
go?
Yeah, like he got away from it.
Why didn't he chase him? He was right there.
I had a big problem. I was so
gave up.
confused when that. I was like, what? I was
I've
so
seen a
confused
lot.
when
There's
that
a
happened.
couple of those random of just like people
Like random,
stop
just dumb
chasing.
stuff.
Like they just stop chasing. Like this is it.
Yeah.
Like
Other than that, I think it's really good. I think the writing is like really smart compared to the MCU movies we got prior. I think this is an S for me.
yeah.
I think the MCU just does Captain America so much justice.
Yeah.
It's really
This
crazy.
was the movie that put Captain America on the map. I feel like each
Yeah.
phase has its own flagship character. Phase 1 was all about Iron Man. Phase 2 is Cap. For me personally, phase 3 was like Thor focused. I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
this movie, the first half of this movie, I can't find a single flaw in it. I love that whole oil rig sequence of him saving the different political figures. I love the feeling of ambiguity of he doesn't know who to trust, and Shield is
Yeah.
already untrustworthy.
Yeah.
So him speaking with Nick Fury as they're playing the old song in the background to
Yeah.
mask if they're being bugged, and he chases Bucky on the rooftop. Fantastic,
Yeah.
A1.
Yeah.
That being said, for me, the second half isn't as strong because once you find out it's Hydra behind the scenes, it kind of loses that ambiguity for me. And it becomes ultimately another stereotypical big CGI hovercrafts having to save the world. And then Nick
I can see
Fury,
that.
this movie should have kept Nick Fury dead. I think that he
I
hasn't
agree.
really done anything.
I agree. I
And
agree.
bringing him back,
I was pissed when they brought him back.
Yeah,
I was
it's-
like,
yeah.
it just took away from that whole
Yeah.
moment. Like,
I agree.
like immediately too. Like they brought
Immediately.
him back. Like, yeah.
If this movie had kept Fury dead, this would be like the, oh my God, like, because no one in the MCU besides Quicksilver stays dead. And I think he's done nothing. So it's really glaring here when they bring him back. And I don't know, it kind of, it's not, I'm not saying it goes from good to bad. It goes from fantastic to great. So I
Yeah.
would go A, very good. I
Okay.
think it's
Yeah.
very good. Mo?
I would also give this an S, just because my whole thing is I never I didn't love Captain America until this movie. Like this, and it shows you, because the whole journey of Captain America is he is inherently good. He himself is good. It's just his environment is bad, which is fun because you see him
everybody around him is
he
just
doesn't change.
untrustworthy.
He doesn't change.
He doesn't do anything wrong.
And it doesn't. That's
the
fine.
best part about his character.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's not the fact that he's having some sort of flaw, which is fine. Like characters have flaws and you work through them. But his whole thing is he can pick up on what's inherently bad, and that's what's consistent throughout the MCU.
His arc is him slowly losing faith in our institutions, which is a really interesting way to
for Captain America.
I like that. For the most morally good person in the MCU.
Yeah.
I like that. I really like that. I think this is the best MCU movie up to this point that we've ranked.
Oh yeah.
100%.
At the time this came out, it was oh my god, this movie.
I remember this was I told you I forgot about Thor 2 was so forgettable. When this came out, people were like, yo, this is easily
whoa.
Who was expecting Captain America 2 to be the best one?
No,
not me, no one.
Nobody. Nobody.
My whole thing was all right, this is Iron Man's franchise. And now after this, I was like, hold on, what's going on?
I remember, the action is pretty good. I think it's a little shaky, and I think that Russo's improve on it in Civil War.
It just helps with that tone, the gritty tone. And I will say, the espionage, the Hydra stuff that might have turned you off later. That was the stuff I loved, especially because I tell you,
I think it works. It works better for the larger MCU, but for this movie specific, when him and Sam are running, and Sam goes, "How can we tell the good guys from the bad?" And Captain America goes, "If they're shooting at you, that means they're bad." All the moral ambiguity.
It has its stupid, stupid Marvel quips. I think the serious stuff is really believable though, and I think
I love that's what
testament to the writing.
The best part about these Captain America movies, the intersection of the MCU elements and still doing what it's trying to do without it trying to be
I haven't liked Black Widow as much as I liked her in this movie.
She was awesome in this movie, and the face thing he did later that at the end of the movie, things that actually further the movie, not just
So I'd go A, but if you guys are going S, that's fine by me. It's really good.
I'm going S. Yeah, I have to. Top 5 MCU movies for me.
So we had our first F, we had our first S. Now we come
Duality.
to what we come to is, for shocking to some, one of the most divisive ones on this list, Guardians of the Galaxy 1. I'll start us off.
Yeah.
This was a movie I've slowly come around on. I never hated it. I saw it in theaters. I thought it was fun. It was a fun little movie. I'm glad I saw it. I like old music, so obviously they kind of manipulated me a little bit. But this is the kind of movie, after rewatching it a few times, if I ever want to show someone an MCU movie, I feel like I show them this. Not because this is particularly the best one, but this one captures the tone in a way that's really palatable. Sure. And the fact is, my grandmother likes Rocket Raccoon and Groot, which is insane that they're
weird characters. It is so weird. It is so weird.
These weird characters are more palatable to the mainstream audiences than Superman is right now, which is a testament to the hard work that Marvel's put in. People hate the villain Ronan. I don't love him. I don't hate him. He's not like Malekith. At least I can understand his motives. I like that it's practical and it looks better than the Apocalypse suit from X-Men. So I think this is really fun. It's really charming. It's not one of my favorites, but I understand why people think it's great. So I would give it an A. I like it a lot. I like it quite a bit. It's pretty much run of the mill. It's it's about 2 hours. It doesn't overstay its welcome. You watch it, you have a good time, and I teared up at the end when he's realizing that he has to connect with this new family because he lost his old family.
Because he lost mom,
it kind of is a bird's eye view of these are the Ravagers. Who are they? We don't have time for that, but they're the Ravagers. So just who's the Kree? It doesn't matter. They're the Kree. They're doing it. Who's the Nova? It's very much. It's kind of like watching the pilot episode of a show.
Yeah.
It's a big universe. But I give it an A. Mo, Guardians is all your.
Okay, so I think this movie is absolutely spectacular. I think this movie is literally the Marvel thing to the absolute, because this is again a group of characters we know nothing about. We all love comics to an extent, but we can all agree this is just weird. We never like knew nothing about these people, and I like that this felt like genuinely like a universe finally. Like they expanded on like the space stuff so naturally. That's what I like. Like it felt like it just like they're just living their lives, and this we're in a weird world, and this is another weird world, and these are weird creatures. Like it's just a day in their life, which is like my favorite thing about the movie. I love the Milano. It's one of the best ships ever. Can we come on? No.
I don't even remember. I didn't remember the name of the ship.
I mean, I guess
Named
yeah,
after
'cause I
named
guess.
after he named it after Alyssa Milano, which he grew
Okay.
up with. Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
And
Okay,
then,
cool.
come on, like that's cool. And then again, I'm like a huge sci-fi person, so the whole like being able to gather all these people and show fun sci-fi elements in the Marvel world that we haven't seen yet, obviously. And I will say the Ronin it is weak, but at least you do understand enough. These are all hero-based movies, so like they're not really focusing.
Hey,
on
Ronan stood up to Thanos. He was
stood up
ready to
to
take
Thanos.
him on.
He
So
stood up to Thanos. Yeah,
I'll give the guy respect. He might not have won, but he was willing to do it.
he was willing to do it. I guess it's something. Yeah, and people make fun of the dance off at the end, but I will say I think it's in tone with the movie. Some of these movies you're gonna have to overall with the grand Marvel things you got, they each have to follow their own logic that they set up.
Ethan's, but he's ready to go.
My whole thing is like it depends movie per movie, because just so we can allow them to be relatively different, because otherwise it'll all blend together. But I definitely love this movie. I think it's an S.
All right, Ethan, your time to shine.
Okay. So I'm not really as high on these movies as my two co-hosts are here. I will say I rewatched it recently. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I rewatched it recently, and I gotta give credit where credit's due. I think it's probably the best intro movie in the MCU.
Yeah.
I mean, I think up to this point, it really does a good job of expanding the universe, like you guys said.
And it's a group. They introduce a group, not even like it's like
yeah, and like you guys are saying, like it's a group of almost like unrecognizable characters. Like nobody knows who the Guardians of the Galaxy are. Let's be realistic. I gotta give props to the MCU for that, for just making them a household name. The dance battle at the end, I think really hurts the movie. For me personally, I think it takes away from all the serious tones and like undertones they were trying to build up.
It's distracting.
But like, it was the peak of the movie. It was the entire build-up of the movie.
He's still a goofball.
It's just like the rest of the movie. I was like, okay, I'm not taking the rest of the movie seriously. Like, it's just like, I don't know. The scale seemed very grand, and it was just like, and I get that's the tone of the Guardians of the Galaxy, but
I would have structured it differently, because he is literally on
the dance battle scene.
Planet.
Really.
I would have
hampered
structured
the
it
mood for me.
personally.
I'm one of those people that really don't like.
I will say I'll side with Mo on this one, and if to be fair, this was at the end of the movie, not at the beginning. It's like it didn't open with this, so it's built up to this, so it's to a point where you know the tone.
I like how the movie opens with Star-Lord dancing and stuff. I think
exactly
it's in tone with that
now,
introduction.
That being said, if Winter Soldier ended with Steve doing a dance off to distract the Nazis, that's when I would say, all right, that sucks. But I
get that, because it is the tone of the Guardians movies, but it's like the tone is supposed to be so serious, and it's like, I don't know.
And if anything, he didn't defeat Ronan with a dance off. It was a distraction. He defeated Ronan when they became the Guardian and they linked arms and they used the powers. That's when they defeated him. So that's kind of what made it up.
That
for
moment
me.
got kind of diminished because of the dance off. That's all. That's
how
I feel.
I
feel like it took away from, you know what I mean?
I understand. I understand.
But I gotta give credit where credit's due. I still think this is like, I agree with what Mo said. Like or Jeff might have said it. If I had to show someone an MCU movie, this would probably be a good start for someone.
It's not the best one, but if you want to say this is the tone,
people already have their preconceived thoughts on like Spider-Man and like Captain America. So like giving them like a random cast of characters is just like it's inevitable they'll fall in love with them. I put it at B on my tier list.
B,
but
we gotta average out to
an A.
All right,
average out to an A.
live with that.
That's fine for me.
I can live with it.
Yeah, and again, as we said, the audience, if there's 3 different people, thankfully this lined up perfectly. We'll average it out. So
yeah,
that worked
Yeah,
out
I
pretty well.
really used to. If we made this video a year ago, I would probably have it lower on my tier list. But
Me too.
after a couple of rewatches, it's kind of grown on me a little bit. The soundtracks, I
The
mean,
soundtrack's incredible. Soundtrack's
yeah, like
I agree.
we all know it's amazing.
yeah.
It's incredible. So far, real quick of the review, it seems like a lot of B's and a good scatter. This is a good bell curve.
Yeah.
We have a
Yeah.
good
Makes sense.
sense
Yeah.
of where we're at. Coming up, we have Avengers: Age of Ultron, and I will start us off on this one. Avengers 2, going into this, there was a lot of hype for it. Ultron as a villain, people were excited for. He was portrayed as a very intimidating threat. I would think, more intimidating than Loki with his Loki Pokey mind control stick. And we were given a movie that you saw them unite the first time in Avengers 1. That novelty wore off at this point. Now you
Yeah.
have to give us a cohesive and engaging story. And for the most part, I think Joss Whedon delivered. And as a director, he improved a little bit on this one. We talked about how the characters were flat in Avengers 1. I liked most of the farm sequence stuff where the characters are being fleshed out. I liked how this movie is shot. This is Avengers 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my favorite shot of it. There's actual like camera work being done. The cinematography is it's better looking than Avengers 1. Avengers 1
looking.
looks Avengers
It
1
definitely
looks
looks
like
better
an
looking than Avengers
episode.
1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Avengers 1
Yeah.
looks like an episode of Agents of Shield. This movie
Yeah.
looks like a movie. It feels
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a movie. I got
Especially
the
kind of
positive.
a
Yeah.
little bit of color.
I got the positives out of the way. Now let me get to the negatives. This script
Oh, we have
is
10 minutes, by the way. Go ahead.
perfect. This script, we have this and Ant-Man. This script
Right.
is messy. The script is a little bit all over the place. You can tell that Joss Whedon does not like Thor, so Thor just leaves to set up
Mhm.
Ragnarok, which looking back on it, didn't even set up Ragnarok because it had nothing to do with Ragnarok.
No.
Ultron, I like him. I like how he's a reflection of Tony Stark.
Yeah.
His plan doesn't make any sense. He wants to make a new body. He wants to make the Vision body, and then they steal the Vision body in a really poorly put together action sequence. So he goes over to his new plan of making a city a meteor because he wants to be God and he wants to throw the meteor down on the ground. A lot of this movie has random action sequences that are just there for the sake of action sequences.
Horrible.
Pads out the runtime. We talk about the MCU humor. They are quipping way too much. There's people in Sokovia, these poor Sokovian citizens dying 15 feet away from Steve
We're
Rogers
just
as he's
getting these
quipping.
jokes off.
So, look, with all of this put in context, there is as much good as there is bad for me. So I'm gonna give it a C. I'm gonna give it a middle of the road C. Mo, how do you feel about Avengers 2?
I really do agree with most of those things. I think Ultron doesn't get enough love because I do like that he really is like he's supposed to be like Tony and a little
Evil
bit of
Tony
Bruce.
Stark,
Yeah,
or more evil Tony Stark.
more evil. But I liked the duality of like men and gods. Like that's like I like the grander stuff. Like, again, like that stuff really speaks to me. So I did like that stuff. Again, there's so many things, right? Like again, the quipping I agree with is not my big thing with this movie. I did like, but I think is a staple. I think in this movie you realize them just hanging out is awesome. That's
Party scene's great.
Yeah, them is even in the farm, them is talking to each other. That stuff they really did figure out. It finally is like that. That's awesome. So that I do give them credit there because even just in a room when they're all talking to each other, that's interesting. But when they start doing the weird stuff with Thor, sending him away, and
I think that when the movie is just the characters talking is at its highlight. When they talk about the plot and the plot is happening, that's when it's the weakest. So
yeah.
All right.
So
what grade would you give it? So I'm C. Where were you leaning?
I'm definitely leaning towards B. I'm leaning towards B.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Ethan, what are your thoughts?
All right. I'll break this tie. So I'm not too fond of this movie. I think this is probably the weakest of the Avengers movies. Everything good that you guys said, I pretty much agree with. I think the farm scene's awesome. I love them communicating with each other and all that. Yeah. And I don't know. I just think there's too many bad jokes. I think they really just leaned into the comedy, and the stuff that's going on is just so tragic and awful, and they're just it really just doesn't sit well with me. I don't know how to feel.
It's like if you're
Um,
this is gonna be in really poor. It's like if you and your friend are out and you see like a car wreck and they turn over and go, "That must have hurt."
yeah,
You're like, what the heck?
it's like, bro, like,
You're gonna die in there. Like,
It's Joss Whedon is it's his philosophy
Yeah.
of as we talked about how Avengers 1 set the stage, and that's one of the negatives. They never got out of
Yeah.
that incessant quipping. They're
yeah.
so
And like you guys said, like Ultron, like I liked Ultron. I thought it could have been better with less jokes. I do like that the jokes are because of the whole Tony Stark personality thing,
Yeah,
but
I
I
did
just
like
think
it.
there's too many. There's too
There's
many.
too many.
and that's more of a
jokes.
problem with the
Serious moments.
movie though, like with the whole joke.
Yeah, I just think it was bad writing and like I don't know.
I
The tone was
also,
all over the place.
I'm a big person in this. I don't like the design of the robots. Like, I wouldn't have given them lips, but I guess you got to do all that.
Yeah, you
But
gotta keep
Yeah.
an eye
like,
on
I'm
it.
thinking about
It's-
think about Tony Stark's humor on that deadpan Ultron face, like the one that like the one that's on the
Yeah.
bots. Like, imagine a bigger version of that with a deadpan
yeah.
face.
Yeah.
The jokes might have worked better.
I also think Wanda and Quicksilver are kind of just whatever in this movie. I think they were just introduced to be introduced. I don't really
I-
think they add too much.
Okay, see to piggyback off that, I love Hawkeye in this, and I love
do
the
like
talk he
Hawkeye.
gives to Wanda, where he's like the
Best
one.
Hawkeye we probably
yeah.
seen. Yeah.
The best
Yeah.
quip of the movie is where I have a bow and arrow. We're on a floating island and we're fighting robots. None of this makes any sense. So when he acknowledges how dumb the plot
Yeah.
is, and I like Hawkeye in this
Yeah.
quite a bit, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm leaning C. Mo's leaning B. Where
Yeah.
are you?
I'm
leaning?
definitely on my list. I gave it a C. So that's where I'm leaning. I think this is a good first C.
We are filling out the lists. We have our
Yeah.
first C. Avengers 2.
I think that's like the definition of a C movie. Is
Yeah,
Avengers:
mid.
Age of Ultron.
Mid MCU. Yeah.
Mid.
Just
Mid.
middle of the
Super
road.
mid.
Yeah. yeah.
And the final movie, which is weird because you would think the Avengers culmination. would
That's
be the
why I
ending.
hate some of these movies. Like, you're gonna start like later on when they start attaching these because they don't know where to put them.
Doesn't make
and,
any
like,
sense.
yeah.
We are ending this
Yeah.
video and ending phase 2 with Ant-Man, and I think it's only fitting that Ethan starts off and shares his experience with this film.
Oh yeah. So all right, listen. We all have those movies that we can admit are dumb and bad,
All right.
but
Yeah.
that we love because it's like comedically bad. Like it's like around the right
Morbius.
group of people with drinks. Yeah, like exactly like Morbius. Yeah. Around a group of buddies with drinks, I think Ant-Man is a very enjoyable movie just because of how comedically like bad it is. I think Yellow Jacket is the most evil villain we've ever just like evil for no reason. Like he just like
He doesn't
he's just
have, like,
diabolically
yeah.
an awful person, just like a bad guy.
And then
Um,
don't forget, they say in the movie, "Oh, the particles are making him insane."
I think he's
Yeah.
always. I think he came out.
He just,
I don't think so. I don't.
He came
from
out-
Act One. That was the bad guy.
He came out of the womb wanting to conquer. So okay, so
I
you like-
don't know. I have a lot of love for this movie. I think
let's
I
also not
honestly
bury the
think
lead.
some of the
You-
comedy is pretty funny. I do. I really.
Let's tell the audience you did a project for this for your class to where you had to re-record
Yeah.
the lines, and I was the role of Michael Douglas. Mo
Yeah.
was evil guy.
we
Okay,
don't even
so
know his name. We don't even.
I don't know his name.
God, I don't
Ethan,
know
can you
his
tell?
name either.
Ethan, can you tell? Yeah, can you
I
tell me
was
his real
him.
name?
I recorded it. And I don't remember his name. I Yellow
His name
Jacket.
is
Yellow
Yellow
Jacket.
Jacket.
All right, if
No,
someone
I don't know.
if someone in the comments can mention his name, you'll get nothing, but I'll
Yeah.
like it.
we
All
have
right,
we have 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Okay.
right.
If I'm being realistic though, like
Yeah.
like it's a D. It's a D movie for me. I mean,
Alright.
it's like
Okay.
it's
Okay.
not great. It's stupid. It's like Ant-Man's not the most interesting hero whatsoever. Like it's
Yeah.
a D for me.
Yeah.
I'd give it
the villain's
C.
bad.
I'll
Yeah.
be more generous. I'll give it C. I think it's more mid. It's
Okay.
nowhere near as bad as Iron Man 2. Nowhere near as bad as Iron Man 2. I just don't think it's good. I think it's a bland thing you watch and you turn your brain off, and there's some jokes that land. It's better
That's
than
fair.
I
I
will.
give it C.
That's fair.
I will-
On my list, I had Iron Man 2 and Thor at F. So my
Okay.
D, this was D for me was Ant-Man.
Okay.
But that makes sense. I mean, I feel that.
I
Right,
will
Mo
say,
tiebreaker.
I think this is like when it started, but like when they start doing like the different universes, like you see the micro universe, like
Multiverse.
no, the micro.
Oh, microverse. That's right.
Yeah, when he's in there, I'm saying like when we start seeing, because as we go through the movies, we're gonna see a bunch of those.
Yeah.
That
The
stuff's
quantum
super
realm.
interesting. Yeah, the quantum realm. Thank you. Jeez. So many,
Get
but
right,
There's a
buddy.
lot of realms, a lot of verses.
Right, buddy.
Do you want to hang out in that realm? You want to hang out in the Purple Panther realm? You want to hang out in the Moon Knight, like Egyptian realm,
Yeah,
whatever
take
you
your
want.
pick.
Pick your
Good
pick.
pick.
But yeah,
So
that
what?
stuff is cool. So but I definitely give it a D. Like I just
Okay.
think it's just so like this is the most like when people say
I
like
mean,
it feels
I
very
could be
Marvel.
talked into a C.
I'll talk you into a C. Look, it's
I have a lot of love for this movie.
You guys can
In-
talk into this.
in
We have a
terms
minute.
of
Go ahead.
no, I have a minute. I can do this. Look,
All right.
after the disaster of Avengers 2, which is this giant, big, mangled mess, sometimes you need to just watch a movie about a thief
Yeah.
trying to do a little heist.
And that's the
it's
thing. I think the comedy in this movie is
Comedy
actually
is funny. It is
decent
funny.
compared
It is
to
funny.
Avengers 2. The comedy in Avengers 2 is awful. I
Oh.
really think
Yeah.
they took a
Fair.
step in the right
Comedy
direction.
is
With the comedy,
better.
but
at least.
I'm not
At
gonna
least.
say it's good. It's a C. It's middle of the road. You
Yeah,
turn it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
So
it?
I go
All
C.
right. All right. Fair. See?
All right.
See? All right.
C.
All right, talk me into it. See,
Eh.
I would give it an S, but if I'm being realistic with myself,
Well, I'd give Morbius an S.
hell yeah.
All right.
All
So
right.
that's the end of phase 2. We're
All
gonna
right,
end the
sweet.
video up, and then the next video you guys will see will be phase 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right. I'm good.
All right.
All right. It's ending.
Good.
Peace. Cool.
Cool.
Nope.
Recording. All right. I'll leave.